I can't even understand when I'm getting a message saying, I know you live in this town, and how can you live in such a place? What am I to do? How am I?
I have 3 speaker cards left, so I would like to finish up the speaker cards. So could I have Maria Ferreira, Emily Gray,
I fucking love that creature,
and Elizabeth Lacey, Amelia Lacey. Oh, it's all right.
she was the only one that gave it a monkey.
Mr. Hickman, I would just like to start with a quote that I heard many years ago on bullies.
Yeah, you need to pull the microphone down so we can hear you.
Okay. So, I heard this during a training. One does not need to blow other people's candles out in order to make yours shine. I feel like you have drawn attention to yourself and to your city. And I'm from Woodland, and I want to just say that I am a straight woman, LGBTQ ally, and a proud mother of a son in the queer community. I was one of the people that was instrumental in getting Woodland June is Pride Month in Woodland. I worked very hard for it, and I received a lot of hate messages myself, threatened, things that didn't feel very good, but I kept moving on. I believe that you wrote this horrible article shortly after it was announced that June is Pride Month in Woodland. It came out, your article came out very close to that. I believe it was in response to Dixon's neighboring city, Woodland, for showing the graces of acceptance, tolerance, understanding, compassion, and love. I thank my city council. I am sure that Dixon is full of many great people, as I can see here, and maybe some not so great. That's how it is in the world. But I wonder, most of all, how this vitriol will affect the lives of people living in Dixon who want to come out as who they really are, only to have to hide their beauty and their courage from the town they live in. I wonder how the LGBTQ-friendly businesses, what will happen with them. I just want to say one more thing. I cannot tell you to resign. I don't live here. I do shop here. I don't know if I should. And nationally, you've gotten attention. And most cities aren't going to think of Dixon again or even read about it again, but they will think Dixon is a bad place. I'm sorry for the rest of you. And I think it'd be a good idea for you to resign. It's pretty hateful, what you said.
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Lacey, and there's been a lot of talk tonight. A lot of people have mentioned young people, and I'm here with my daughter, Amelia, who is a student at Dixon High School. And I just wanted to say that I deeply feel that that your comments, that your leadership have really failed her, and I would ask that you step up and do right by the kids of this community.
Okay, I'm gonna talk now. Hi everyone. I just wanted to say something quickly about Mr. Hickman's article. I just wanted to say that I am a human being, and I was affected by the things that he had to say. Everyone in this room is a human being, actually, and a lot of them were affected too. And the people that are living in San Francisco and the people who are gay all over the world, they're not fairies. They might wear skin-tight jeans and tutus, but so what? Who cares? They're human beings, and they deserve respect. I am gay, but I will always be a human first. and I deserve respect. That article was not respectful, and it doesn't matter how we identify, we deserve better.
Okay, that concludes the first portion of our public comments. I'm going to recommend we take a 10-minute break before going to council comments. Thank you. We'll be back at, by that clock, would be 8.
Else down to get your voice heard, then you're doing everything wrong, sir. We need more compassion, more empathy. That's what the world needs. That's what Dixon needs. We have all these newspaper people here at the for what? For hate. Bring them here for other things. Thank you.
You don't have to wait for it. So just so people know, you don't have to wait for this to start. If you get a few extra seconds, that's okay. We'll get it started. So.
Good evening, members of the council. My name is Katrina Gunn. I've grown up here and I've gone through the school system, and frankly, I am appalled by a statement made recently. And I would like to discuss the topic of family in response to the column. You say that you are pro-family, and you wrote about the straight families in specific, purposefully excluding any and all others that you should be supporting as representative of this town. We, as a community, are family, regardless of gender identity, sexuality, race, and religion. If you are standing up for family, you are standing up for all families. And all families, especially the ones that live here, are equal. The LGBTQ youth of this town are deeply hurt. We thought that us as a generation would finally be able to be ourselves. But it's comments like these from our representatives that make us feel like we do not belong, and that just by identifying as homosexual or otherwise, we are not family. Suicide is increased. 40% of homeless youth are LGBTQ+. And frankly, I've dealt with my own share of bullying. It's not fun. Just because you're gay doesn't mean that you cannot have a family either. As a matter of fact, we have jobs, we can have children due to the other orientations, and we are active members of society. The only reason we celebrate our pride is because we have worked so hard to get where we are, and we continue to do so. No matter how many times we are chastised, abused, and cast to the side, we fight for respect. Our respect. Not to mention plenty of other issues that have happened, like the Pulse nightclub shooting on June 12, 2016. We should all be accepted, especially when we just recently reached a goal like the U.S. marriage equality of 626 in 2016. Frankly,
If you could try to bring it to a close.
yeah. Frankly, this town is Ohana, and Ohana means family, so it's be respected.
Council members, my name is Teresa Soria, and I want to tell you something. Usted no me representa a mí. Not only on this article, but in so many other times. And it's unfortunate that those other times this kind of rally hasn't happened. But you do not represent the community of Dixon, because Dixon is a farming community and it's a melting pot. It's a melting pot that represents people from all over the world, all kinds of orientations. And you need to realize that you represent them. And if the kitchen is getting too damn hot, you need to leave it. Excuse me for the Fuera. No me representa. The other thing is that I believe that if you can't, won't, or are unable to represent us, you really need to resign. Like the gentleman said before, with dignity, leave. Because that kind of thinking does not represent the community. I don't think it represents where the world is heading. And honestly, that negative attention that Dixon has gotten is uncalled for. We don't want it. I'd rather be known that Dixon, that on all occasions people would call from the cornfield because they couldn't find the way out of the maze. You know? Not for something so ridiculous as this. So resign, or as the gentleman suggested before, strip him of his authority and responsibilities, at least until the next person is elected. And be aware that the activity in this community is going to be so much more higher in the next elections by all. So beware. You represent Dixon as a whole. A mí también.
Buenas noches. Good evening.
Thank you.
According to the FBI's Uniform Crime Report, a third most common hate crime, 216, against LGBT people. So what can we do about this in our town? The CDC makes recommendations about what schools can do to promote safety of LGBT based on crime research. The first of those evidence-based practices is to encourage respect for all students and prohibit bullying, harassment, and violence against all students. I'm here tonight because the anti-LGBTQ homophobic language our Vice Mayor Hickman chose to use in his editorial was disrespectful, insulting, and disparaging of the LGBTQ community. In contrast, I believe that Dixon, as a city, should encourage respect of all its citizens. I ask you, the City Council, to stand against hate language directed at anyone, including LGBTQ people, and to model respect for all our citizens. I think we owe this
or dating only members of the opposite sex.
When people have been targeted by unequal treatment.
Sorry, sir, your time is up. If you could bring it to, I already kind of let you go.
Okay, I'll finish this paragraph and not the whole thing. When people who have been targeted by unequal treatment speak up and tell me about ways that they've been disrespected, I think it's a good practice to listen respectfully, think about what I can do to help, and then do it. I hope that you, my brothers, will do the same. Thank you.
Impression and standard being set upon our young ones. But most importantly, this is about the message being sent around about the family values this city represents. Mr. Mayor, you publicly stated, and I paraphrase, that there's not much you can do in holding members of this body accountable, that it is up to the people of Dixon to speak out in November. But here are a couple of things that you can do today. Granted, you may not be able to remove Mr. Hickman from office, but you can certainly strip him from his role as vice mayor of this city. You can also remove from any and all positions of influence in any and all committees Mr. Hickman sits on. Not in November, today. For a city that strongly stands behind family values, I ask that you show your constituents that this body does not cherry pick who it represents, but that you represent every single one of us, including our brothers in the LGBTQ community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Myers. I'm a 10-year resident of Dixon and the lead pastor of Living Hope Church here in Dixon. I live here and pastor here because I love this city. Like most here, I was upset and embarrassed to read a Facebook post about Mr. Hickman's op-ed in the Independent Voice. To see one of our own elected officials publicly publishing such bigoted and insensitive opinions was frankly unbelievable. I say I was upset and disappointed because I wasn't shocked. Mr. Hickman and the Independent Voice have been littering our streets and yards with their ignorant and inflammatory gossip while exposing since this piece was published, there's been a lot of back and forth about free speech, but for me, this is not a free speech issue. It's a representation issue, and Dixon has been grossly misrepresented. Mr. Hickman, you were elected to your position to represent our citizens. Any leader knows that words matter, and your words not only misrepresent the values of the vast majority of our city, they ascribe to us an ignorance and a closed-mindedness that most of us would fight to the death to avoid, as is proven by the crowd gathered here tonight. You failed your fellow council members, you have failed the citizens of our city, and most importantly, you have failed in basic human decency. Even if you believe the so-called tongue-in-cheek comments you published, you have alienated the majority of the people you represent by sharing those comments the way you did. You selfishly chose to represent yourself to the detriment of this beautiful city. Your words are costing us dollars tonight as we have an increased police presence. Your words are costing us future dollars as potential businesses and projects are beginning to distance themselves from our city. Your role as councilman is not about you, it is about the welfare of Dixon, all of us. Your position as councilman is not your right. It is a privilege that was granted to you by our citizens, and you have forfeited that privilege. Mr. Hickman, as a pastor, I'm kind of a forgiveness guy. I don't believe there's anybody in the world beyond the reach of God's forgiveness, and so no one can be beyond my forgiveness as well. With that in mind, I would encourage you to own your actions, seek forgiveness from our community, and resign with integrity. You know as well as I do that Dixon is a good and decent community and will extend to you that forgiveness if you seek it sincerely.
If you put your time's up.
Okay, can the following people approach, please? Eric Goods, Kate Gunn. I believe this is Ellie Monson, Teresa Soria, and Marie.
Dear Dixon City Council, my name is Sophia O'Neill. I was born and raised in Dixon and graduated from Dixon High School. I'm now a college student and working for the summer in Oregon. I'm disturbed by what Mr. Hickman wrote in the Independent Voice and want to speak out as a bisexual woman. My humanity reaches far beyond my sexuality, but my sexuality is a crucial aspect to my identity. The words of Vice Mayor Hickman not only serve as an affront to my identity as a bisexual woman, they are cruel and dehumanizing attack on all LGBTQ residents of Dixon and our families. Mr. Hickman titled his willful ignorance and bigotry in the June 29th That's Life column. His assertions that gay people do not work, have monogamous relationships, their own children, and respectable lives in general is not just an opinion and is absolutely not a joke. The language and sentiment Mr. Hickman purposely chose to use in the article perpetuated harmful stereotypes about the LGBTQ people. As Vice Mayor Hickman, and as a private citizen, Mr. Hickman's words play a significant weight on this town. So when he proclaims that LGBTQ people do less and are less than and other, we are told that the Vice Mayor does not recognize nor value our humanity. Only one person who serves on City Council outrightly rejects his bigotry. We are told that our town's leadership does not care about us whatsoever. That is why I'm joining with the many others in my hometown who are calling for Ted Hickman to resign from office. I may not be in Dixon at the moment, but there are a lot of queer kids growing up who need to know their full value as a human being, and they deserve better than to have Mr. Hickman serve on City Council. Thank you.
+1, all of the different Dixon sites, but there is a lot of ugliness that is going on in that board, on those boards. I actually emailed the police department myself to make sure that they were going to be here because I was afraid to come here to speak out against this sort of ugliness that you are perpetuating within our community. If I'm afraid to come here, I have the biggest, utmost respect for the LGBTQ community that has come here today to represent who they are and who they love. Please resign.
My name is Patrick Abbott, and unlike many of you guys, I do not hail from Dixon. I come from Woodland. However, I grew up in Alabama. So I know the damage and the pain which growing up in a homophobic community, a community with homophobic elected officials can do to a child. When I was growing up, all I heard from my elected officials was that I was wrong. I am a transgender, bisexual man. It took me almost 19 years to accept myself. And part of that was constantly being told by public figures that I was wrong, that I was out of the ordinary, that I was something to be ashamed of. And that has an effect on kids. We don't choose to be who we are, and being queer, it doesn't hurt anyone. The only thing which being queer hurts is when people hurt people for being queer. We have families. I have a friend who he actually gave birth to his own child. And we can have biological families, but you know what? The biologicalness of families doesn't make them families. It's the love, respect, and support which makes the family a family. When many hundreds and thousands of queer families who live in America, the ones who live in Dixon, it's shameful. You say you stand for family values, but you very clearly only stand for the families who fit your narrow-minded definition. I implore you to resign, as you do not seem capable of representing your constituents, especially those who have already been marginalized. I hope you all have a wonderful night and that you make the right decision, because it matters.
I am Bridgette Hunley, Chair of the Solano County Democratic Party, and Vice Mayor Hickman's statements have just completely brought the battle for our democratic values to our very doorstep here in Solano County. Our democratic values of equality and love. And I believe that the best way to win that battle is to elect democratic leaders who stand for those values. Not moving backwards in Solano County, but moving forwards. Because love and not hate is what makes our county great. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ashley Zowski. I identify as a bisexual cisgender woman. My preferred pronouns are she and her. I am also a veteran of the United States Army, a single mother, and a lifelong citizen of Dixon. Over the years, I've read countless of weekly editorials by Mr. Hickman, and I'm often disturbed by their content. Frequently featured in these pieces are themes of bigotry in many forms, be it casual racism, blatant sexism, or ignorant homophobia. I love Dixon, but as a mother, I feel deep shame for my hometown at this time, receiving notoriety for these words. Words that are printed and delivered to each and every house in our local newspaper, and words matter. Especially when they come from a position of power. When they come from an adult whose position in our government should respect his people, and in a perfect world would garner respect. How can that be expected when Mr. Hickman uses such hateful, divisive language against people of our town? Young people in Dixon should be able to read their local news, learn about their local government, and participate in local charity events without being told by adults around them that they're not accepted, that they're less than. These attitudes are harmful and have led to the depression that has plagued me and my fellow LGBTQIA community members our entire lives in many cases. LGBTQIA youth experience suicidal ideation at a rate of 3 times more than heterosexual youth, and are 5 times more likely to attempt suicide. I was one of those young people, adrift in a town that was isolated from a culture of acceptance for people like me. A town that was and continues to be, as we've seen, on the wrong side of history, unfortunately. As I said before, I'm a mother, and I want to raise my child in a town that does better by their children. than 30 years ago.
Douchebag can do it. Why
Where
not
my
you?
son feels safe and accepted and does not hesitate to
It's saying
love
a lot.
who he was meant to love. Where he doesn't feel alone.
Bring some good
In a
reviews.
town
You work for the community
where we don't have to take pause for fear that our elected officials make decisions based on bias and not what is right and good for its people, all of its people. Dixon can do better. We must do better. Resign.
Well, that's cool. 'Cause that's America.
Dixon. Protest. Up the